Lord Africana's musical impact reaches far beyond Afro beats and hip-hop. The three-time Grammy-nominated songwriter and artist used his Ghanaian roots and American upbringing to captivate audiences around the world. For nearly a decade, Lord Africana has been a highly sought-after songwriter, collaborating with heavyweights like Beyonce, Pharrell, and Tiwa Savage. He was even a featured artist on the Godfather of Harlem soundtrack for seasons 2 and 3. Well, he's got new music out. His latest single, No Day Tire, affirms his West African roots, and it solidifies his place in music. And we are fortunate here at the Griot to have Lord Africana in the studio, in the building with us. My brother, thank you so much for joining me. Talk to me about the inspiration for your EP, Ghana Must Go.
So the inspiration for Ghana Must Go was just, the story of when a million immigrants were kicked out of Nigeria. You know what I mean? So for me, it was imperative for me to pull on that story and pull on that conversation of when Nigerians, had the opportunity to really, stick it back to Ghanaians in the 1980s and really expel, a million Ghanaians out of the country. And I wanted to reclaim that heritage and that story by naming my project Ghana Must Go.
You have a very interesting mix of kind of beautiful music and thoughtful political analysis. Who inspired you? Who are your musical influences?
Everybody, everybody from Paul Simon, Andre 3000 to, Biggie, Mos Def, Nas, to, to, Peter Gabriel. I've been lucky and fortunate enough to grow up in an era where I had a very generous amalgamation of influences and artists that had a very diverse palette within themselves, which allowed me to have a very diverse palette within that. So, I was blessed with an opportunity to have good timing in terms of when I was born, so that made my musical influences a lot more diverse than they usually would have been.
Absolutely. And it's very telling in your music that you've been influenced by that kind of diversity. It's really interesting to watch. Now, you were born in Ghana, you were raised in Massachusetts, but the fallout from DACA still impacted your immigration status in 2017. Talk to me about what that meant to you and how this period affected you, not just as a citizen, but as an artist.
I think people underestimate how much, not just socially, politically, but on a practical level, immigration affects people, right? So the inability to do things like jump on a plane and, grab a driver's license or get on a lease for an apartment. You know what I mean? So me being a father, having a 7-year-old daughter, like those are the type of things that I think about when I think about DACA is like, okay, can I, if all else fails and music isn't working, can I get a job? Can I go and pick her up from school safely and bring her home? Can I afford it enough to get a nanny if I needed to, if I'm traveling on the road? So there's a lot of things that hurt, for me, like being an immigrant and being, somebody that was raised here since I was 5 years old. This is the only country I've ever known. So I kind of grew up with a very, a very systematic upbringing. We all grew up in this upbringing of the American dream and the American pie and trying to get that piece and understanding what it means to get to different levels of maturity and, like getting married, the white picket fence and, what we consider that American dream. So when you're not able to get it, even though you're raised to chase it, it's very disheartening, very disheartening.
Oh my God. That's a story in an album and a book and a movie all in and of itself, man. It's amazing to hear how you've been able to navigate that, but also to thrive during that. I mean, you did work with Beyonce. Talk to me about that thing, man. How did you get the opportunity to co-write 2 songs on Beyonce's album?
God, to be honest with you, my life story is very much so right place, right time, and keeping the door open and letting God in. I had the blessing of working with Beyonce on her Black is King project through my publishing company, BMG. And, I got a phone call. They wanted to know if I was working on African music at the time. And at the time, I was one of the only writers in the company that was primarily focused on Afrobeat records. So, again, just God timing me right at the right time in the right moment. And, they liked, the records that I had. They called me up to the camp. And being the true blue immigrant that I am, I just never left. Even though they were set days for different writers to be there at certain times, I just learned a long time ago, you miss all the shots that you don't take. So I just never left. And I just
Facts.
told myself I'm gonna stay here until they kick me out, and they never kicked me out. So you know what I mean? So that work ethic, that drive, that gumption is what kept me, you know, kept me in the running, and then eventually, you know, got me 2 records on the project and got me Grammy nominated.
What are some other collaborations that you like to do? I know you've already done the Pharrell collab, some other ones. Who would you like to work with?
Oh man, I would say Andre 3000. So I'm extremely happy that he's back out. I would
Now,
say,
are you talking about
honestly,
doing
I
like
would love
some
to work.
remixes to? You talking about doing some remixes to the flute songs? You talking about, you know, writing your
Listen,
own kind of
listen,
flautist, treble clef bars? What we talking about?
I'll do anything with Andre. Like Andre is one of those artists that I feel like people underestimate his, you know what I mean, his ability to really just understand what he is. You know what I mean? Because I feel like that's what a lot
Mm.
of artists miss out on, is being able to speak from the platform that you are actually at in your life. You know what I mean? So a lot of people immediately assume and interpret that to be he has to rap. And I don't think that's what it is. I feel like I'm happy that there's any art. You know what I mean? Because I feel like for me, like you
Yeah.
still get an interpretation of where he is and where he's living and where his mindset is at, even if it's just instrumental. You know what I mean? So for me, like he's just somebody I would love to be in a studio with and just pick his brain and figure that out. But yeah, him, Kendrick Lamar, or J. Cole, you know what I mean? A couple of the goats in terms of like Timbaland, Swiss Beats, and just like some perennial writers like Billy Joel and Paul Simon would be amazing to work with.
And you heard that, Andre 3000. If you're watching the show, he just wants to be in the studio. He'll do anything with you. Just make sure that happens, y'all.
Indeed.
Fans can expect so much from you. We can't wait to see it. We can't wait to see what your next projects are. We're inspired by you, my brother. We're inspired by your global impact, by your commitment to telling the truth and making beautiful music at the same time. Lord Afrixana, everybody, make sure you check him
And
out.
before I
Everybody, stay
go, I
right here
want
on
to
the
give you your
Griot.
flowers, sir.
Oh,
Thank you.